Welcome back. It's been a while, been a long, long while, but we're back and better than ever, as Jeremy Corbyn once famously said. Yeah, joined as ever by Henry. Henry, I hope you're doing very, very well. See, your beard's got a little bit better. That's
Oh man, shut
always
the
a
fuck
positive.
up.
No, it's getting better, mate. I'm a bit jealous. I'm sure Charlie is as well. But yeah, introducing our big guest for today, Threadman Chazza. You're a lot more of a lucrative guest than you were last time we had you on. Fair play to you. You've gone a few steps up in the world, haven't you? But yeah, nice panel to get us started today. What's not so nice is getting absolutely battered at home by Liverpool, and that's what we're going to discuss for a little bit. So, Henry, I know you've had to hold back a little bit on other channels, but here's your chance. Go on, I'll let you loose. What were your thoughts on Sunday's game?
Well, for starters, I don't know how this stream managed to start with Jeremy Corbyn being mentioned in the first 10 seconds. That's beyond me. But fair play, he managed to cram it in somehow. Yeah, well, where do you start? What an absolute shambles this club is at the moment, from top to bottom. We look like a joke. Like an absolute joke, a joke to the rest of the Premier League and a joke to the rest of Europe, because it was between us and Barcelona as to who could be the shittest and who could be the worst run club. Now, Barca are in a huge amount of debt, so obviously they're still slightly in the lead, but they've sacked the manager who was getting them crap results, and we've clung on to ours for some bizarre reason. Probably because the Glazers don't know that Liverpool are, our bitter rivals. They probably don't know that, probably don't understand it. They probably don't understand, that 5 goals means that we lost 5-0. They don't understand that. So
that's one touchdown in their sport, isn't it?
Yeah, so they're probably thinking, oh my God, man, we need Cristiano Ronaldo to score a touchdown. They're probably thinking that, and it's like, so. And I remember first game of the season, they shone the light on Avram Glazer, who was sat in the stands at Old Trafford. And part of me was hoping that one of them was going to be sat in the stands against Liverpool, because if they had watched that, the crowd reaction, the crowd leaving, that's not people leaving to them. That's dollar signs walking out the ground. So they will have seen it in that way, but they weren't there. So, they were probably seeing the result and gone, oh, nuts. Next time we score 2 touchdowns. And yeah, but it's an absolute joke. We're having to, take a piss, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And after that game was one of those moments where you sat there and I just randomly, if I didn't laugh, I would have cried, because it was that bad. It was one of the worst results, probably the worst result I've actually seen, worse than the 6-1 against City, because you all know you could recover from that, and certainly worse than the Spurs game, because we've just been absolutely pumped, and they took pity on us. Liverpool took pity on us when we went down to 10 men. They started knocking the ball around and taking the piss. That is worse than scoring 2 or 3 more goals to me. They were actually just knocking it around on the halfway line. One touch, easy, ping it long, keep the ball. It's the club is a mess at the moment. And you're right, I've had to hold back. I did a show last night with the Leeds lot, and I wanted to be, as calm as possible. Someone managed to hold it together, but I just don't get it anymore. I just don't get it that the club's a shambles.
Fair enough. I thought you were going to follow on from that, but yeah, that's a fair summary. I don't feel like I need to add anything to it. Oh, Henry, mute yourself. I can hear myself. It's rank. I don't like it. But yeah, Threadman, we'll come to you. There's a lot to say, so we'll try and keep it concise. But what on the pitch? What went wrong against Liverpool? What were the key areas of where the game was won and lost?
Wow. Yeah, before the game, I was expecting us to get a point before the lineups came out. I thought we'd get a point, and the reason being is just because of everything that's happened. The boost that we got from Atalanta. I thought at home against Liverpool, we very rarely lose at home to Liverpool. I think we'll get a point here. And then the teams came out, the lineups, and I looked at the teams and I said to a few people around me, I said, we're in trouble here. We're in big trouble, because you cannot play. You cannot play for what I call 4 forwards against this Liverpool team. You know, we know Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, we all call him an attacking midfield player, but he plays almost like a forward. And Rashford and Greenwood are definitely not wingers; they're forwards. So we basically have 4 forwards. And I said to people around me, I said, we're coming up against 2 of the best fullbacks in the world. Rashford and Greenwood are not going to do enough defensively, and we're going to get hurt. So that was the first problem. The first problem was the team shape in terms of the wide players. And the second problem was our midfield. Because of how high Bruno plays, and you could see it during the match, particularly on goal kicks, it was a 4-2-4 formation. And that is it's just ludicrous. I just don't, I don't understand it. It's just ludicrous. And if you're going to leave any 2 midfielders on their own in midfield, don't leave McTominay and Fred on their own, isolated up against not particularly fantastic players in Henderson, Milner, and Kante. They're not world-class players, but they're good players. And that was the huge problem. So there were 2 huge problems before we even kicked the ball. There were 2 huge problems: the amount of forwards we had on the pitch and the lack of midfielders we had on the pitch. They were the 2 main issues before we even started. And then during the game, I was at the game. It was oh dear, yeah, it was very, very bad, really, really bad. What really frustrated me was playing long balls all the time. So throughout the game on goal kicks, we insisted on playing it long. We had no faith in ourselves to play through Liverpool, and that's exactly the wrong approach. You know, when a team's high pressing you, and if you're we've got some good quality players, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to play it out from the back, and you have to take risks, and you have to try and go through them. We didn't do that. We just lumped it up. Van Dijk head or chested it back down to the midfield, and Liverpool went again. So yeah, there were many issues. The players, we've seen some reports coming out. The players said they weren't told how to press. I mean, it's worse than Sunday League stuff. It's schoolboy stuff. This is where we're talking about schoolboy stuff. Players have not been drilled how to press as a team. This is Manchester United. We've got world-class players, and they're not being taught how to press as a team. And this is stuff I've been saying this for months, and people said, "No, you're talking rubbish." I've been saying this for months. We don't get coached properly, and it just shows every week. It was awful. And as Henry rightly said, in the second half, Liverpool were playing 5-a-side football, just kicking it as if it was in the backyard. They were playing in the backyard the second half. But yeah, I think there were a few problems before the kickoff, and then the whole approach in the game was wrong. We were too scared, and we played too many long balls rather than trying to retain possession, I think.
Yeah, I've got to sort of hold the L on that one. I was unanimously Ollie in for a long, long time when I think neither of you 2 were, and I thought give it time. But yeah, really has come back to bite me. I'm willing to admit that now. I think it probably is time for him to go. But we'll move on to Ollie then, Henry. I'll let you go for a little bit, given that you've not liked him for probably a year and a half now.
Yeah.
We won't talk about Ollie himself. I think the writing's on the wall. The City will be the last possible game he gets. I don't see any way past that game. So, you know, moving on, we'll look at candidates. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers being mentioned today, Antonio Conte being mentioned very, very frequently. Who would yours be? Who do you want to see come in at the end of the City game?
Conte, and I've got a couple of reasons, and one of them is I will not be able to go through another 3 years of rebuilding a team after rebuilding and failing. You can't do it again because the fans will get, they'll be unsettled. And with Brendan Rodgers, what he'll do is he'll want to bring in his own players, and he'll want to, amend certain things, and it will take a couple of years. With Conte, you get success pretty much instantly. And, he maybe within a year, but I think United fans can wait, considering how, his track record and how good he is. I think one of the fundamental issues with, another rebuild again is that this squad is not young. Some of the top players in the squad, they're not young. I know we've got the Sancho and Rashford, and they're all coming through, and Ronaldo and Varane and Maguire, all 3. I think Maguire's 28 or 29, same with Varane. And obviously you've got Ronaldo, who's going to be there for another couple of years probably. if that. And we've got a situation where if we don't take advantage of these players being here, we won't win anything. And then we'll go back into another rebuild in a couple of years' time when the players have gone, because they're some of the players are in the primes of their career now, and the same goes for even like players like De Gea as well. No, I'm not saying you should write a keeper off at 30 or whatever, but he hasn't got many years, and I'm sure he'll want to go back to Spain at some stage in his career. As he's mentioned before, about he's got his family's over there, and he wants to reconcile and be back with his friends, around his friends and family, and I completely understand that. So we haven't got that long in terms of the players that we've got. So we've got to take advantage now. No player is getting younger. So, we've got to do something before it's too late. And, it could be a huge issue. So Kante is the one I want. Do I think we'll get him? No. Just based on the fact that he's very abrasive and he's very aggressive with his style. And the owners want power. They've wanted power all along. They found out with Mourinho that he called their bluff essentially when they didn't buy him a centre half, and he said, "I didn't get bought this player. They didn't do what I asked them to do," and that was pretty much the end of that. So they won't. I don't think they'll want to go through that again. It's always been a power struggle at United since the Glazers came in. Them and Ferguson got on well because of the Rock of Gibraltar and all that stuff. If anyone's watching and hasn't seen that, look it up, because it's one hell of a story. And he never fell out, but Mourinho did. Louis van Gaal did a little bit, and the only manager that hasn't really challenged them since he came in is Solskjaer. And ironically, in 2005, he was telling these owners to piss off, essentially. He was saying, "I don't want you here. So, I'm opposed to takeover." And now he's saying they've invested loads of money. So they want yes men. And I think that could be another problem at United. If we want to appoint the best, they're going to have an ego. They're going to have an attitude. And you've got to accept that and, compromise, because they will win your trophies, because they're top managers for a reason. So we'll see what happens, but I can't imagine them appointing Brendan Rodgers or Graham Potter or whoever it is going to go down very well. I can't imagine it, because we can't do another rebuild. I'm not going through that shit again. It's been 3 years. 3 years of telling us that, it's going to be okay, we'll win a trophy. And we get to a Europa League final because we're too crap to get through in the Champions League. 3 years! Why do... And if I see anyone on my timeline compare this to the time of Ferguson, give your head a wobble. Put it in the oven or something. I don't care. You just talking shit, because Ferguson won stuff at Aberdeen. That's why he got given time. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's won a cup with Mulder. Oh, wow. I apologise. He should be given the next 10 years to do a fucking rebuild again. A joke, honestly. Some of this fan base, they need to be those Insulate Britain lot and glue their heads to the motorway so we don't have to listen to them.
Fair enough. I won't comment on that. But I agree with you. I think it is ludicrous to compare the two, because not only did Solskjaer have the CV, Ferguson have the CV. Solskjaer's also been handed effectively the Galacticos team of the modern era, like the man for man. Are there many better first 11s in terms of ability on paper? Solskjaer Ferguson was handed a team that was finishing mid-table every season.
Best in the is it man for man? Would you guys say it's man for man best in the Premier League? Because I think it is. If you look at the squad we've got,
if you disregard managers and everything, those players on their own are probably better than any other team. Yeah,
it's crazy.
But I'll come to you, Charlie. I think you've been a bit of an advocate for Kante. It makes sense. We're starved of success. He's almost guaranteed to bring it. But realistically, because I don't want Rodgers, I think it screams of another Moyes. How do you get these players playing in a Conte system? I'll ask you.
Yeah, so I agree with Henry about Conte. There's obviously a lot of problems off the field with Conte, but we need somebody. The first problem we need fixing right now is we need a manager to come in and sort the defensive structure out. That's the number one priority. I don't. Everyone's talking about, oh, you've got to fit all these players in. No, you haven't. It doesn't matter how you win. Thomas Tuchel has to drop all these attacking players. They've got Ziyech, Werner, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, Lukaku, Mount. He has to drop. He can only play 3 at once. He has to drop. He has to leave some of them out because that's how he wants to play. He wants to play with a 3-4-3. But the thing with Conte is that Conte will come in and the first thing he'll do is within a couple of months, obviously we can't expect something to happen in the first few games, but he will come in and he will put some defensive structure into this team. Now, how he'll do that, I imagine he'll go with a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, but he's also got experience of playing a 4-4-2 diamond, Juventus. He's got a lot of different things that he can do. But I think the first thing he'll do is I think he'll go to 3 at the back. And some of the positions are a little bit we could debate on. I think the right wing back's an interesting one because obviously Wan-Bissaka is not suited to that role, but is Diogo Dalot good enough to play that role in Conte's system? Question mark. But Conte used Victor Moses and won the Premier League, so Conte's got this experience of using players like Victor Moses, Gary Cahill at the time that are not fantastic players and still winning the league. So I think he would go for a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3. With the team that we've got, he will probably favour a 3-4-3 because we've got more wide players. I imagine, but the only issue with that is then that you have to drop Bruno, or you have to play Bruno as an inside forward like Chelsea do with Mount. So it's just weighing up these scales, which one do you go for? But you can interchange between the two during a match. You don't have to have one or the other. I think if Bruno was one of the inside forwards, he could drop back in to make a 3 in midfield if you need to. Or if you want him to go up and press with a 3, 2 wings and a striker, you can do that if you want to press high. So I think a Conte team would look something like De Gea in goal. Shaw and Telles is an interesting one. I don't think he'd play both left backs in the same team at the same time. I think he'd probably just choose one. So he'd probably go with Varane, Maguire and Lindelof, or Bailly is an option as well. And then it's a toss up. The 2 wing backs, I really don't know. Because I think, Conte over the years has preferred more physical players. And I think Alex Telles is quite slim. So he may favour Shaw, but Telles would be a fantastic option there. We've seen in Portugal what he can do. So the wing backs are a little bit tough to decide, I think, especially the right wing back as well. So we've got options anyway. And then the 2 in midfield, my God, I don't know. I think he would like McTominay. I think he would develop McTominay a lot. I really do. And I actually think he would bring a midfielder in. So I think it would be somebody and Pogba or Van der Beek, probably. And then Matic would be used as the rotation player for that Brozovic or that Barella or whatever, whoever it might be. And then the front 3, I think he will like Martial a lot. I think he may play Martial quite a lot more than Solskjaer has recently. But it's really, really hard. It's really, really hard, isn't it? And like what I just want a manager to come in and not be afraid to make big decisions. And I think Conte would be that manager. As Henry said, he's quite abrasive, he's quite aggressive. If somebody's not doing their job, he'll tell them. Is that style of management good anymore? We don't know. We've seen with Mourinho, if you blast your players, if you have a real go at your players, is that the way to deal with players nowadays? We've seen Mourinho with Luke Shaw, players wanting an arm around them rather than being given the hairdryer treatment, So it's interesting with Conte. I think he would set up with a 3 at the back, but I think Conte can get more out of most of these players. I think Fred will look better, a lot better. I think McTominay could be a key player for us under Conte. If Conte came, I think McTominay could be a utility player. I think we've seen on the All for United show the other day with Gianluigi, I can't remember his surname now, but he was an Italian from the Italian press, wasn't he? And he said about how Conte's developed Barella and Bastoni. Inter are about to send Bastoni on loan, and now he's a key player for them. So Conte has got this knack of seeing one or two players that the last manager didn't fancy or the fans don't fancy and turning them into a real good system player. So yeah, we could see that. But what a Conte team will be: fast, direct attacking, defensively strong, and he will win with us if he does come.
Yeah, well, I'll butt in on Conte then. I suppose I've given you two time to talk. I think I'll start this by saying I don't think I want Conte, just purely for the off-field stuff. I think it's Conte under the Glazers, given Conte's past and falling out with owners, is a match made in heaven. I think there's a recipe for disaster. But if we're talking purely on the pitch, I think it would be quite exciting. I think you're guaranteed to improve. I think that's a fair point to say. But yeah, looking at the players that he'd have at his disposal straight away, I think that he could genuinely make a good midfield pairing out of Fred and McTominay. I think with his defensive stability, I think he could make a good defensive midfielder out of McTominay, especially with his passing range as well. And I think we could see more of the Fred that we see for Brazil in terms of that number 8 and getting forward. And I think those two are players that are statistically good as they've been for Solskjaer. I think there's more to come from them, and I think a man like Conte could be a good option to get the best out of them. But yeah, it'd definitely be interesting to see who comes in, like who he plays if he did come in, who drops to the bench. That'll be an important thing. You got to choose between, I suppose, playing Bruno Fernandes and dropping about £200 million worth of talent on the wings. So that'll be a tough decision. I think whether he varies game to game with his approach and formation will be interesting. But yeah, on the pitch, Conte at United will be very exciting. Don't get me wrong, but off the pitch, I think 2 years down the line, we could be pulling our hair out, which is my only worry. But yeah, any takers for any others? I mean, I mentioned Ten Hag a lot, but I think that's a bit of a pipe dream, given that I don't think he'll leave Ajax mid-season. Any advancements on Conte?
I don't think you can. I don't think you can put anyone else really in terms of that category of manager. I guess you've got the next one down, which would be your Graham Potters, your Brendan Rodgers, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and to be fair, I wanted to bring this comment up, which is, I mean, it's remember we did that lecture on stats a couple of days ago, James, and we were talking about Mourinho and Ole's style in terms of goals scored and goals against. They're not actually that different in terms of the two managers. I think the football is quicker. Don't get me wrong, but is it a lot better? I don't think it is. I think it's wishful. It feels the football. It feels a little bit it's like hero ball a little bit, which is it's never great to have a side like that. So any manager at the moment would be an upgrade in terms of who we can get. I just want to mention something quickly on our captain, Harry Maguire. Oh my God. He might be one of the most boring people I've ever heard in my life. If you're in South America or wherever you are and someone gets kidnapped, he's the guy that you would play in an interview to the people that have been kidnapped and they would fall asleep within about 2 or 3 minutes. He is categorically the most boring person I've ever listened to. And I've listened to some pretty dull people. And yeah, everything, it seems so scripted whenever he talks. I saw that interview he did, what was it, yesterday, about, we need to bounce back. We need to do this. Yeah, you do. Well, you need to bounce back because you lost 5-0 to Liverpool. More than bounce back. You need to sort your shit out because he's been awful this season. He's been really, really poor and he's got away with it until the Liverpool game when he got exposed because, yeah, again, have we ever had a worse United captain? If I'm being honest, in terms of charisma, and yeah, he's a good player, but he talks shit. It's what the manager wants him to say, and I'm tired of it. There's no passion. I look at him and think, fuck me. How have we gone from, captains like Vidic, who would die for the club, to Maguire, who sits there and goes, yeah, this week's been a good week of training, but we need to recover a little bit. It's been okay. We know we're Man United. We need to bounce back. just how have we got to this stage? And how did he get the captaincy within, like, what was it, a couple months of being there, if that? He got brought in, and Solskjaer went, "You're dumb as shit, so I'm going to make you captain because you'll say anything I want you to say." Gives him a piece of paper when he goes into the interview. Memorize this. And then he comes out with a drivel. I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of, lack of charisma, lack of passion. And this is a guy that's captaining Ronaldo. He's captaining Sancho, Varane. Varane must be stood there thinking, how the fuck did you get the armband? Oh my God, you're boring. Oh, just... I can't... So many things are wrong with this football club. So many things. And Kante he'd take it off Maguire straight away.
I'll say that back to the United way of play, United way of football. I think a lot of fans are very fixated on this, and I think they've sort of misunderstood what the United way is. I don't think the United way is a style of play, because how would you define it? Fast attacking football. That's what every good team in the world plays. It's not specific. It's not specific to Manchester United. Ferguson didn't invent attacking football. I think the United way is off the pitch in terms of understanding what it means to play for the club, understanding the values and traditions, and you know, again, it's. I think we're just fixated on it. I don't care if Kante comes in and plays possibly less attacking football than Solskjaer, which is very unlikely given how his Inter Milan team played. They were frightening at times, but I think we're so fixated on play fast football, bomb down the wing, cross it in. That's how Burnley play. Like, football's evolved. We need to stop being fixated on. Oh, we need to play the United way. United have no traditional style of play. Every good team in the world plays like Manchester United. So just leave it out of it. I get Solskjaer understands what it means to be a Manchester United manager, but on the pitch, I don't think he ever has played the United way, because we've seen some nice attacking, but every manager in the league has a portfolio of games where they played nice attacking football. Like, it's one thing that irritates me. So apologies for the run.
No. That you're spot on, 100% spot on. The United way isn't a thing. It's not United. The United really, it changes. It chops and changes all the time. Football evolves. Does Pep Guardiola play the Man City way? What, like when they had fucking what's his name in charge, the ex-United Mark Hughes, when they had him in charge, was that the Man City way? No, it's ridiculous. It's the way that Alex Ferguson played football, and everyone, because he was there for so long, everyone goes, that's the United way. Supposedly, it's bringing players through youth systems and integrating them and playing attacking football. Okay, so Barca, they play the United way, as do Real Madrid, as do Juventus, as the Man City, as the Liverpool. They've all gone and played the United way. It's the most ludicrous argument, honestly. And again, football changes, football evolves, styles change. The football under Ferguson wasn't always beautiful. It's sometimes dogged and a bit rough, but we win games. That's the key point. Yeah. The whole thing is rubbish. And after every game he talks about the United DNA. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You ask him about what system are you going to play today, and how are you going to press the opposition, and you go, I'm going to play the way that I know, which is the United way, and the DNA of these players is to play the United way. It's covering up the fact that he's tactically inept. That's all it is, and fans are buying into that. So yeah, you are right, James, and I can't help anyone who thinks the United way is a thing, because it's not. It's just different styles of play.
Never thought you'd agree with the point that I made. I thought it was always the other way around. But here we are, new season, new Henry. But we'll move to the background stuff, and it's good we've got you on for this, Charlie, because I know you've been a long advocate for the coaching of this team. Now, assuming Ollie goes, I think he needs to take his coaching stuff with him. They've Mike Phelan not very much, but Michael Carrick and Kieran McKenna both survived through the Mourinho reign and the Ollie reign. Mike Phelan was brought in under Ollie, so you can't say that about Mourinho. But again, he's not made the difference we thought he would. Just I'll also say that I think the insistence on keeping United ex-players in the coaching stuff is completely heading in the wrong direction. I think they need to be integrated into the boardroom rather than coaching stuff. That's where they'll be most effective. But that's a completely different conversation. But yeah, what needs to be done about the coaching staff, assuming Ollie leaves, Charlie? How do we rectify that?
Well, Ollie deserves what he's got. He deserves what's happened, because if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer understood anything about the ins and the outs of football, these coaches would have never he would never have had these coaches in the first place. And if with everything that's happened, with all the issues that we had, he would have got rid of these coaches. And if he would have done it, and if he would have hired, I don't know many coaches, because I just know managers. Like, nobody really, unless you're like very knowledgeable about that, we don't really know. I can't tell you who should have come in, but I know that there are better options out there. And if Ollie would have done that 12 months ago, whenever, or even recently, got rid of those coaches, brought some new coaches in, we may have seen something a little bit different on the pitch, and then everybody would have got behind him. But he's caused this himself. He's got no excuses, and there's still some people that are saying, "Oh, we have no CDM and all this rubbish. A CDM would solve the problems." No, everybody would get exposed. If you put Wilfred Ndidi in our team, it would make very little difference. He would get exposed as well. So yeah, I agree with you, James. I think they should go as well. But the issue is, I was going through the channel earlier, the One United Pod channel, and I saw a video about when you did a video after Ollie's new contract, and I watched the first few minutes, and Henry's reaction. Obviously Henry was very, very, very disappointed, and Henry's words were, "We did this with Mourinho. Why have we done it again with Ollie?" And I just thought, oh my God, he said that a few months ago, and the exact things happened again. We've given a new manager a needless contract. We've given this new manager a needless contract.
Look at how smug he is. He got one thing.
No. James, just quickly, remember the Palace game last year when I said this manager will fail at Manchester United? I said he would fail. I mean, I can just hear all those people.
There you go. You were right, because I was just looking through the videos just to see them, and then I watched the first few minutes, and I think you were on with the other Henry as well, the United Henry. And then Henry's first comments were, "Oh, I'm not happy with it. It's the same thing. It's going to happen with Mourinho." And you were right. And it's ridiculous that these contracts have been given out, Phelan and all this rubbish. I just don't understand it. I really, really don't. So yeah, they've got to go as well. But this thing about the boardroom, it's a bit of a difficult one, because Sir Alex Ferguson, obviously, he has support of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and the Glazers, obviously, they made the decision we're going to give him a few more games. But I'm not even so sure that it's right that we should even have these former Man United people in the boardroom as well, because I think we're living in the past too much. I think with Ferguson, and I love Sir Alex Ferguson. I was lucky enough to grow up in the final few years of his management. Unfortunately, I wasn't fortunate to grow up in the first and middle years. But Sir Alex Ferguson shouldn't be getting involved in decisions anymore. We should just let him have his retirement. Just let him rest, and he shouldn't really be getting involved in any decisions, because he is not a modern football man. As bad as that sounds, Sir Alex Ferguson, unfortunately, is gone now in terms of his legacy.
He described himself as a dinosaur when he retired, didn't he? So he's not going to be much more up to date 8 years later, is he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we respect what Sir Alex has done, and I'm not abusing Sir Alex. I'm not having a go at Sir Alex. I just think for the better of the club, I think we should just move on from this rubbish of having Man United people inside the club. And there's nothing wrong with Sir Alex going to every game. There's nothing wrong with Sir Alex being a part of the club somewhere, but I don't think he should be making those decisions. And I'm not saying he made the decision, but the Glazers, we all know the Glazers were probably looking at each other in the boardroom saying, "What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" And there's probably about 10 of them in the boardroom, and they had no idea what they were doing. And they just looked at Sir Alex, and Sir Alex went, "Well, when I was a manager, it took me this many years to win things. Let's give him a few more games." So it's just it's this PR, Man United PR again. It's just like I'm just fed up with it. But yeah, the coaching. We could sit here talking till 9 o'clock tonight about the coaching, the build-up play, defensive transitions, set pieces, the shape of the team on and off the ball, the playing so many strikers forwards all the time, not dropping players who aren't playing well, not giving players who deserve a chance a game, not actually integrating many youth players, despite what I'm hearing about Ollie playing the youth and all this. I haven't seen him integrate more than one youngster into the first team, and I'm not saying that's his fault. I'm just saying a lot of people are saying we shouldn't bring Kante in because he will not play any of the youth players. Well, Ole Solskjaer, and it's not his fault because I actually don't think we have any youth players ready at the moment. I think other than Greenwood, I don't think any of the others are ready. I think the next one is probably Ethan Laird, and I think Ethan Laird next season under Kante at right wing back, we could see Ethan Laird if Kante is here. But I don't think it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's fault that we're not seeing that many youth players integrated into the first team. But I understand he's doing some good things behind the scenes, but there's this constant thing about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer playing youth and things like this. But I don't actually think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's had a chance to play Ahmad, and he didn't play him. Europa League final. You can say Ahmad hasn't played much first team football, but Marcus Rashford was having one of the worst performances. He was injured, and Marcus Rashford, Paul Pogba came off before Rashford. So, he had a chance to bring Ahmad on and he didn't. So, yeah, there's so many problems. And let's just take a minute to think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not the biggest problem at this club. Let's not get it twisted. The Glazers are the biggest problem. And unfortunately, we haven't got a plan. If you look at Brentford, they're the perfect example of how to run a football club. They've got a plan in place. They know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing. We could talk about bringing managers in. Kante comes, and I love Kante. I'd bring him in. I'd have brought him in on Monday morning. But Kante comes, he wins, he leaves in 2 years. What do we do then? We've lost Pogba, we've lost De Gea in his prime, we lost Cavani, we lost Ronaldo, we lost all these players. So what do we do then? Do we go for a Pochettino, a Ten Hag, a Roger? What sort of manager do we go for then? What's the plan? What players are going to be left after Kante? There's no plan for us. So that's my big worry. We can talk about Ollie all we like. I don't like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a manager. I liked him as a player. I liked him. I've got no problems with him as a person. But my big problem is the plan as a football club. We haven't got a plan as a football club. The recruitment's all mixed up. It was supposed to be a rebuild, but we've brought in Ronaldo, and we all wanted Ronaldo to come, but Ronaldo sort of completely went against this rebuild idea that we had. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer kept hold of players that he's not even using. He could have let Van der Beek go on loan. He didn't. He could have sold Martial. He didn't. He could have sent Ahmad out on loan. I think Ahmad might have had an injury, though. I think something happened with Ahmad's injury, so that might let him off for that one. But Eric Bailly never used, never sold. Lingard, he kept, he's hardly used him. So you just cannot stick up for this man anymore. And, the Glazers are the biggest problem. But yeah, Ollie is a problem as well.
Going back to youth, it's not completely irrelevant, but we go on about how good our academy is. But you look over it, we'll take Chelsea for an example. Just this summer alone, they've sold because these players weren't good enough. They've sold Tino Livramento and Armando Broja. Both Livramento has been one of the best right backs in the league this season. He's effectively playing right wing because he's that good going forward. And then Broja has already showed that he's also a very good striker. When was the last time United not only produced two players in the same year that were as good as those two, Premier League quality at the age they're at, but then also sold them at a good price, had buybacks and everything? This massively acclaimed youth system that we have, it just seems a mile off now. Chelsea signed Lukaku for 115 million, ended up net positive this summer because selling youth academy products who were never going to quite fit their team, but they're good enough to be playing in Europe's top 5 leagues. When was the last time that ever happened to United? Daniel James was the first player since 2013 to be bought and then sold for a profit. That's 8 years of losing money on players. That's how badly run we are. And it brings me on to my next question for you, Henry. Again, just talk to me about the Glazers. That just more and more displays that they are completely inept at running a football club.
Well, the youth thing is right, and I think a couple of weeks ago, both youth teams got thumped in their respective leagues. It was like 5 or 6-1, which is ridiculous. Should never happen to United youth side, and it just kind of shows where we're at. We've got the odd decent player, but yeah, and ever since Nicky Butt left, the youth system has gone to shit. It really has, and him leaving was a huge loss for United because he fell out with Murto, who, by the way, whoever was saying Murto masterclass, whatever, look at him now. And you can negotiate the veranda and whatever. Great, yeah, great on you. Good on you. You make the footballing decision. But the youth system has been left to rot for so long. For the Glazer family, for billionaires, you think they're relatively smart guys. But my God, are they absolutely so fucking stupid when it comes to running a football club? You think with again, you're right, it comes down to business for them. It comes down to money. And you think if you could spend less and produce really good youth players and sell them on for a profit, and then you can bring in players and do what Chelsea did and have the net spend quite low. That's surely a better solution in the long run. But they don't, because they're idiots. they wait with managers until they can't get top four. They lose the Champions League money and they go spend a ridiculous amount of money on players, and they still take dividends. It is beyond me how these guys are so rich. I know their dad was a little bit smarter than them. You look at Avram now, you think, fucking hell, he looks like a slug and he acts like one as well. He just has no idea what he's doing. And, again, Joel Glazer, these guys they're not... United is like fourth on their list of priorities at the moment. I know they're talking about they did that brief a couple of days ago, didn't they? Oh, we're going to increase the capacity at the stadium. Been saying that for 10 years, and you've done nothing. And you've been saying it. You're going to we'll do this to the stadium, whatever. We'll do. It was that all the not redevelopment, the refurbishments and whatever around the ground over the summer. That was mandatory stuff. I didn't realize at first, but it was stuff that they were planning to do for about a year anyway. And then they made a big thing of it. Oh, because the Super League will reinvest or whatever. These guys, they just don't care. They just don't care. And I said this last night to some other fans, obviously not fans of United, and they were, because they can't quite understand how bad it is sometimes. And I know we'll cry foul, even though we've got Ronaldo and Sancho and Varane, but the problems are much deeper than that. This club is so poorly run, in a lot of debt. And, the Glazer family, while the manager's in deep waters after losing 5-0 to Liverpool, they go and try and buy a cricket team. You fucking having a laugh? Oh, we'll sort that out after we've tried to buy a cricket team. Well, they lost the bidding, which was good. That's a massive fuck you to them. They lost the bidding. They got outbid by some other billionaires. And, again... list of priorities, it's like fourth or fifth business interest, then it's the Buccaneers, and then it's trying to buy a cricket team, and then it's United. The training ground rotting. It hasn't been upgraded since it was built, which was like, what was that, 15 years ago, more than that. It's honestly an absolute shambles. And just to compound the misery, I've seen United put out a tweet about half an hour ago, a little bit longer, and they said 3 of the 5 key ingredients United have shown as a reaction this week. Right, the 3 are courage, self-belief, and togetherness. Really,
buzzwords, isn't it? Buzzwords.
What about the tactical side of things? Courage, self-belief, and togetherness. This is not wish.com. This is Manchester United Football Club. When this is honestly, man, we're not doing our best. We're not doing a Norwich doing our best to stay in the Premier League. Or you need courage to do it. You have to have desire. We're supposed to be challenging for the league with this team, and that's all he can come up with. Oh, fucking hell! I hate this football club sometimes. Absolutely do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I apologise. I'm very, very pressed for time, so I'll hand over to our guest for the final comment. Have you got anything else to add, Charlie? It'd be good to hear your thoughts on the Glazers briefly.
Yeah, well, yeah, Henry's right. I mean, there's just so many problems, and as Henry said, if you don't laugh, you will cry. And I haven't cried yet since the Liverpool game, but I could have done a lot of times, but the whole situation, there's just so many problems, and the Glazers just don't understand football. They don't understand football, and I think there's a lot of people that just don't. I mean, I don't understand why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was even here at the start of the season. I mean, I just don't understand. If it was Chelsea and they went to a Europa League final against Villarreal and they lost it, the manager would have been sacked the next morning, whether it was penalties or not. And no, Chelsea. I think Chelsea beat Villarreal on penalties in the Super Cup or something like that. But honestly, I don't understand, and I don't think they do. And they don't care about the fans. They don't care about anything other than money. And the counter argument I'm going to make is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been backed, and he has been backed. And you can be successful under the Glazers. You can be. I'm not saying you can't be. I'm not saying it's ideal. I hate them. They're horrible. But we can be successful under the Glazers. And a manager should be successful if they spend £400 million. And I think if Kante was the manager and Kante would have spent that much money, I think you would have seen a lot of success. So yeah, it's just a bit frustrating, everything really, because I think sometimes we see things that they don't see, and everybody sees different things. Like James said, you took an L for backing on. You can't. You back. There's nothing wrong with backing a manager. You know what I mean? That's what you got to do if you support a football club. And I just saw it something differently, and we never know. Ollie could win the next 3 games, and he might be here for another 3 years. We might have McFred again. We might win the league this season. You never know. Ollie's self-belief, courage, togetherness, and all this DNA. The United way, express yourself. All this. Henry's killing himself right now, but there's nothing wrong with having a difference of opinion. But I just think everything around the fan base at the moment, I'm trying to stay off Twitter a bit. I'm just a bit fed up of it's just all like the Glazers know what they're doing. The Glazers have created a divide. Ollie is their puppet, and now everybody's directing their hate at Ollie so they don't get any stick. And yeah, the Glazers know exactly what they're doing. And as Henry said, I don't think they will appoint Kante unless we lose heavily against Spurs and lose City, Atalanta. Because they need a yes man who's going to, stick up for them and not say anything. So, yeah, we'll hope to see positivity. And the positive note I'm going to end on is that we can be successful. We can be successful still. We might not have a plan. We might not have a project. But if Kante comes in, Manchester United will win the league next season. And that is what I'm saying. That's what I'm going to end on.
Fair enough. We love a bit of positivity.
Can I quickly make one comment?
Don't be negative. Come on, we're just ending on a positive. It's got to be something positive.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. After the Super League, we were promised communication, right? By the Glazer family. Where's that? Huh? Where's the communication? We were told it was going to happen, it was going to come, and it hasn't. So they haven't lived up to their promise yet again.
I was 20. Fair play. I'll give you that. Well done. But yeah, Glazers bad. Man United bad right now. Kante good, maybe. Who knows? But yeah. I suppose that's it. Thank you for joining us, Charlie. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you for watching as well. If you did enjoy it, like and subscribe. Bit of a depressing episode. It won't be like this all the time, hopefully. Although the way it's looking, it probably will be. But yeah, that's all from us. We'll see you next time.